So we're gonna continue our exploration today with movement principle number 3 to kind of get our minds in the pointed in this direction, right? Movement principle number 3 is clear and distinct flexion at the pelvis. Yeah. One of the key things that we're going to explore is distinguishing flexion in the hips, right, versus flexion in your spine, when we are engaging in this movement principle, we want to be very clear in one segment or all segments of our body being stable to allow very specific types of actions, right? Because oftentimes when the pelvis starts to move, it begins to create some ripple effects in the spine, right? So with that being said, we're going to stabilize our pelvis so that the thigh can move, right? The thigh can move in the pelvis, or stabilize the legs so that the pelvis can move around the head of the thighs. And then also one more key landmark to remember, right? It's kind of a reoccurring location in this first half of the semester, these first 8 weeks, is understanding where the top of your thighs are, right? Looking at Indiana bones, tops of the thighs is literally the ball segment of this ball and socket relationship, right? The head of your femur. The femur is this longest bone in your body, the thigh bone, okay? So the top of your thigh is literally right here, not the front, not the back, not the side, not the bottoms, but the top, okay? So we'll keep that in mind. And this is what we're gonna look for is movement here without compensating or creating imbalance in other segments of the body. Spectacular. So with that being said, have your blocks handy. You'll have them towards the front end of your mat. Let's start with them there. And then you're gonna bring your strap with you when you lay down on your back. Okay, so go ahead and lie down on your backs. We'll come into a constructive rest position. And that looks like feet a little bit wider than your hips, maybe about mat distance wide. You're gonna allow your knees to swivel inwards towards each other, like they're toppling in towards one another. And with that, sense your lower back widening a little bit. And then you'll just rest your hands on your belly and then slide your hands down until your pinkies are in contact with the top of your thighs. Right. Let's go ahead and take 2 deep breaths. You're gonna inhale through your nose. Sigh out of the mouth. One more time like that. In through your nose. Close your eyes and sigh out of the mouth. Now carry that experience of sighing, right? But now allow it to go out of the nose as you exhale. Producing a little bit of a kind of a windy sound in the back of your throat. Almost like an ocean or Darth Vader, right, in his helmet, as I've heard it described before. And follow 2 more breaths like this. Lengthening your inhale. Savoring that sweet little pause at the top of your breath. Tracing the exhale as it smoothly exits. Acknowledging and taking a little rest stop at the end of your breath. All right, one last round. Good. And then now keeping the same shape, but you're just going to walk your feet in closer to each other. Say about sit bones distance wide, certainly not any wider than your outer hips. And then now you're just going to let your arms, your hands rest down by your sides. And continue to draw your attention to your pelvis. On your next inhale, feel your pelvis tipping and rocking towards your feet. So the arch in your lower back increases very subtly. Your tailbone points down to the floor. Then as you exhale, feel that natural posterior tilt, as if the tailbone is now pointing up towards the sky and the lower back grows closer to the ground. All right, so again, inhale, pelvis rocks towards the feet, arch, natural arch in the lumbar spine presents itself. Then as you exhale, there's a natural curling and tucking of the tailbone as it points upwards towards the ceiling. All right, about 3 more rounds like that. And less, right, it becomes less about engaging those muscles that actively do that, but just feel the natural tipping of your pelvis as you breathe. Right? The less you do, the clearer it becomes. The inhale swells the belly, arches the lower back. The exhale softens the belly and draws the low back nearer to the ground. All right, last breath like that. Good. Now get a sense of neutral in your pelvis and take 1 more full breath there. See if you can maintain this balance as you take a full breath. Good. On the next inhalation, stretch your arms up over your head and hook your thumbs together. Exhale, press and hug your bottom ribs down into the floor. Good. Inhale, let your collarbone slide up towards your face. Then as you exhale, squeeze your ribs in towards the midline. Continue to stretch your fingers, reach through your pointer fingers, and then continue to lengthen or maintain this neutral positioning in your pelvis. Good. Take 1 more inhale. Feel the back of your neck going long, your chin naturally dipping into your chest. And then exhale, hug your right knee now into your chest. And then notice here, hug the knee in towards the midline. It might feel a little bit crunchy at the hip crease. Spread your toes. Take a moment here and notice that the right side of your lower back's a little bit flatter to the floor. And then just like in movement principle 2B, that this right hip is a little bit hiked up, right? Closer to your right ear, this outer right hip. Great. And then now from there, grab your strap. You're going to step your right foot into the loop of your belt. Position the belt around the ball of your foot. And then now go ahead and begin to straighten your right leg up towards the sky. Spread your right toes. Pull your toes back, and then push upwards through the ball mound of your right big toe. Good. And then just like a door on a track, a sliding door, slide your left leg towards straight. Push this left heel down into the floor. Feel the back of your leg engaging. Spread your left toes, pull the toes back, and then press forward through the ball mound of your left big toe. Good. And then now let's just sense here. Begin to pull your right leg closer and closer towards your face. You'll feel your pelvis tilting towards your head. And then your low back gets
collapse to the ground. Good. And then now from here, just slowly begin to let your right leg move away from your head, more towards the left leg. And then there's going to come a point when your hips start to turn. It's going to tilt towards the left foot. Find that place where that is. Keep that natural curve in your lower back. And then keep spreading your right toes. Engage your right quadricep, right? Pull the right knee towards the hip. And then engage the back of your right thigh. Keep the lumbar spine, natural curve here, and then just begin to bring the right leg closer and closer to your face. Before your hips begin to turn, right? Stop there. Keep spreading your toes. Imagine that you have gum on your right heel and you're trying to scrape the gum off to the right side, trying to turn, turn, turn. Feel the lower back widening. Suction your left thigh up into your hip. And then firm the outer right hip back to the midline. Good. And then now from here on your next inhale, pick your left foot a little bit off of the floor, just a little bit. And then same thing with the left heel, try to scrape that gum to the left. Feel your thigh spinning in the socket and the lower back widening. Keep your lower back, your arch neutral, let go of that strap. Reach your arms up over your head, palms facing in towards each other. Keep suctioning the left thigh upwards back into the socket of your hip. Firm and squeeze the outer right hip. And then see if you can prevent the inhale from inflating the front of your body. Let it spread into your upper back. 2 more breaths. It's a little bit shaky. That's natural. It's normal. This is a nice big awareness in the core and a warming up of the hips. Take 1 more breath. Spread that breath across the backside of the body. And then exhale, bend both legs, both feet on the floor, arms down by your sides. Take a couple breaths here. Already notice and sense any warmth in the hips, any difference between right and left. Good. On the following inhale, stretch both arms back up overhead, thumb tips hovering over the floor. And then now we embrace the left knee into the chest. Hug it in nice and tight. Feel a little bit of a crunchiness there in the crease of the hip, right? When you're drawing the knee closer to the midline. And then let the left knee slide a little bit across your body toward your left armpit. And then notice here, there's a perceivable difference between the flexion in your hip when it's wider out and when it's nearer the midline. You might be able to find that you can pull or decrease the angle in the hip a little bit more. Part of that is just following the line of your psoas. And then now from here, take that strap, slide the belt around the ball, the root of your toes, and then begin to strain your left leg up towards the ceiling. Good. And then we'll keep the right knee bent on this side. Begin to pull this left leg up, up, up towards your head. The tailbone's going to start to curl up towards the ceiling. Maybe for some, your butt's not even touching the floor, and your lower back certainly is getting pushed into the ground. Okay, and then now from there, move it in the opposite direction until you begin to sense the direction of your pelvis changing. Right, where the sacrum, the flat of your lower back, is more connected to the ground, and the tailbone starting to point down towards the floor. So there's this kind of nutation happening, right? The tailbone begins to slide back, and the head of your sacrum gets pushed forward, or in our orientation, up towards the ceiling. Spread your left toes, like the right leg is on a track, begin to strain that right leg on the ground. Lead with the heel, press evenly through the right big toe mound. And then now from here with your left toes, keep spreading, press up through the ball mound of your left big toe. Scrape the gum to the left off the heel. Pull the right thigh back up. You want to feel your hips coming back to center. And then on your next inhale, lift your right heel a little bit off the floor. Squeeze the hips together, the outer hips together, and then suck this right thigh back up into your hip. Spread both toes. Engage the back of your left leg, right? So there's this feeling like you're trying to bend your left knee, but it remains straight. Nobody else can tell that that's what you're doing. Only you can sense it. Let go of the strap. Inhale, stretch your arms way, way, way up over your head. As you inhale, fill the back of the body. Feel like the collarbones are getting drawn over your face. Exhale, lengthen the tailbone towards the right heel and stitch the bottom ribs towards the ground. One more breath. Good. And then bend both knees, both feet on the floor. Arms down by your sides. Take a couple easy breaths here. Good. Inhale, stretch the arms back up over your head. Hug both knees into your chest. Give yourself a couple rocks and rolls. Maybe a couple tumbles forward and back. And then we'll meet together on hands and knees. Okay, position your wrists right underneath your shoulders, right in a tabletop position. Point the toes straight back. Lift your feet up off the floor and then point straight back with your big toes. And then try to evenly press pinky toe and big toes down into the floor. Stabilize here through the columns of your arms and legs. And then let's go and take a couple simple cat-cows. So the entire spine is going to articulate. Inhale, pull the collarbone forward, look forward, point your nose forward, point your tailbone up towards the sky. And then spread now your shoulder blades, chin moves down towards the chest, tailbone angles down towards the floor. Couple rounds like this, just moving with your breath. Inhale, open the front of the body. Exhale, open the back of your body. Keep pressing firmly down into your feet. All right, about 2 or 3 more rounds like this. The entire spine, vertebra by vertebra, is articulating one at a time. Right, rippling from the center, making its way evenly towards the head and the tailbone. Last one. Awesome. And then now find neutral. Take a full breath here. Inhale, collar lifts forward. Tail points up very subtly. And then as you exhale, lift the belly, stitch the bottom ribs, and spread the upper back. Good. Now keep your spine neutral like this. And then from here, just with your hips, it's like you're kind of just sticking your butt up towards the ceiling and then tucking your tail. Right? Try to isolate the middle of your back, upper back, and most obviously your neck. Right? You can keep your nose pointing straight down. On your next inhale, slide your thighs up into your hips. Your butt's going to point up towards the ceiling. Then as you exhale, your tailbone is going to tuck between your legs and it's going to point down to the floor. It's a very subtle and very particular action. All right, see if you can move with your breath. Inhale. Exhale. Imagine that this is the very same thing we opened the class with, right? But in this instance, instead of the hips being stable, now it's your legs. So make sure that your legs aren't shifting forward and back. Right now it's the thighs that are stable and the bowl of your pelvis is just rocking over the head of your thighs, right? 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Tailbone points up towards the ceiling. Exhale. Wrap that pelvis around the head of the femur. Good. Come back to the center. Take an inhale. Keep it neutral. Exhale here. Tuck your toes, everybody. Take one more breath. Inhale. Exhale. Toes tucked. Lift the knees a little bit off of the floor. Keep the spine neutral. Inhaling here. Slide the thighs back. Point your tailbone up towards the ceiling. And then exhale. See if you can slide the heels down towards the floor. All right, we'll be in downward dog for a couple breaths. Spread your fingers. Point your fingers parallel with each other, pointing straight ahead. All right, it's almost like you have the webbing of your thumb and pointer finger around a pole and you're pushing the webbing into the pole. And then notice here, right, for some, the heels are on the ground. For most, the heels are a little bit off the floor or a lot. Right? But this action of trying to drive the heels down to the ground, since the hamstrings are connected to the backs of the knees, the calves down the heels, right? And the attachment point is there in your sit bones, the hamstrings are going to begin to yank your pelvis into that posterior tilt. Right? The tailbone is going to start to slide between your legs. So let's give it a little bit of space. I want you to now come up onto the balls of your feet as high up as you can. Okay. Press your knees forward a little bit. Give the hamstrings some slack. And then begin to point your tailbone up towards the ceiling, like you're going to fling your butt over your shoulders. Very clear hip flexion here, very deep hip flexion. Essentially, that's what's happening in downward facing dog. Good. See if you can keep your dog tilt, right? This tilt of your pelvis up towards the ceiling. And then just a little bit. Bring the heels down closer to the floor, just a little bit. And then pause there. Sense if your butt is still pointing up towards the ceiling. Right? Keep that action and then move the heels closer to the floor again. And then check. Can you keep pushing your hands forward, driving the thighs up? Have this sense of direction that you're slinging or flinging your butt over your shoulders. Good. Take one more breath. Keep spreading your toes. And then as close as you can manage today, the heels intention is to move down towards the ground without letting it yank your butt into this rounded lower back. Keep the natural curve in your low back. Excellent. Okay, and then now from here, everybody go ahead and walk your hands all the way back towards your feet. A good generous Uttanasana. Spread your toes, bend the knees softly, and then just let your head hang towards the floor. Right? And with those knees bent, you can get a sense that the hips fold over the thighs a little bit more accessibly. Right? It's a little bit more accessible. Good. And then now from here, I want you to keep your head dangling. Go ahead and begin to bend the left knee a little bit more and then begin to straighten your right leg. You'll feel your hips swinging to the left. That's okay. Keep your left knee bent, but now take the crease of your left hip and then push that thigh back, but keep this left knee bent. It's like you're trying to even out your hips, but the length of your legs are different. Right? That there is more crease in the left side. Good. And then go ahead and now bend the right knee. Left leg goes to straight. And sense here, right? One side's probably different than the other. With that knee bent, imagine somebody has their hand hooked into the crease of your right hip and they're pulling your butt back. Try to swing the hips back to the midline while maintaining this incongruent length in the legs. Good. And then now bend both knees. Slide both hips back. Spread your toes. Make as if you're trying to spread that gum off your heels, left and right. And then from there, take an inhale, come onto your fingertips, lift your chest forward. Then as you exhale, slide your butt up like you're flinging it up over your head. Not trying to push your knees back, but lift your butt up towards the sky. That's a big one. Right? Take one more breath. Let's try that again. Fingertips, take an inhale. Lift the collars. Keep spreading the heels apart. And then as you exhale, fold down to the floor. Not with your knees, but try to lift your sit bones up like you're tumbling it over your head. Good. Keep that action in your legs. Walk your hands forward, back into downward facing dog. All right, spread your toes. Find that action. Right? Push the knees forward, slide the thighs back. Try to find that tilt. Inhaling, lengthening the collar towards the center of your thumbs. Exhale, draw those thighs straight back. Move it away from your fingers. Good. And then now from here, come up onto the balls of your feet, bend your knees, look forward. Step your feet all the way to the top of your mat. Push your hands to your shins. Take an inhale, lift your chest up. Find that tilt of your pelvis. And then exhale, fold back down to the floor. Good. Inhale, push the feet down into the ground. Begin to stand, reach your arms up over your head. Spread the gum on the heels. Exhale, hands come down the center, passing the midline. Arms come down by your sides. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Lift your arms up overhead. Lengthen the tailbone to the floor. Exhale, dive down to the ground. See if you can keep your hips as steadily as you can over your heels. Don't let your butt rock back. Good. On the fingertips, inhale, half forward fold. Lift the collar, lift the tail. Exhale, full forward fold. Good. Simple sun salutation, half of it. Inhale, stand up over, arms reaching. Exhale, hands come right down the center and down by your sides. Let's do two more like that. Simple vinyasa, arms reach, inhale. Exhale, fold. See if you can keep those hips right over the heels. Keep spreading your toes, lifting your sit bones upwards. Half forward fold, inhale. Find that tilt, scrape the gum, lift the collar. Exhale and fold. Keep lifting the sit bones as you fold over the thighs. Good. Inhale, slowly rise. Arms reaching. Push down into the floor. Reach, reach, reach. Exhale, hands down the center. Good. Just moving with your breath. Last time. Arms stretch up above. Fold it down to the ground. Keep the backs of the knees soft. Don't push the knees back. Lift the sit bones. Half fold. Find that tilt. Remain with that tilt as you fold down to the ground. Inhale. Stand firmly into your feet. Arms spread out to the side. Reach the arms up overhead. Keep the arms reaching here. Exhale all the way out. Take one more inhale, draw the thumbs back. Then as you exhale, you're going to make fists with your hands. Slide them into the top of your thighs like you're putting them in your pocket. And then drive the thighs straight back. Spread your toes. Feel your thigh bones getting drawn and suction back into your hip. Feel that tilt in your butt, and then engage your belly to lengthen out of the lower back. Collarbone is forward. Spread your toes, push into the inner edges of your feet, slide your hips back so the heels are firmly grounded. And then now from here, stretch your arms up by your ears. Tadasana, chair pose. Our favorite pose in the world. Take an inhale, everybody. Then as you exhale, fold down to the floor. Sit bones, go up, 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 up. Not the knees. Lift your butt up. Good. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, fold down towards the floor. Good. Inhale, stand all the way up. Reach your arms. Keep reaching the arms. Exhale, sit the hips back into chair. Inhale in your chair. Exhale, fold back down to the floor. Lift the sit bones. Sling it over your shoulders. Scrape the gum. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, full forward fold. Good. Stand all the way up. We'll do that one more time. Driving down into the floor. Keep separating, sliding the feet apart. Exhale, hands down the center. Good. Arms reach up. Inhale, sit back into chair. Exhale, sit bones slide up, 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 up. Keep the backs of the legs engaged. Good. Half fold. Inhale. Exhale, full forward fold. Plant your hands. Step your feet back, plank. Inhale and plank. Spin your outer thighs down to the floor. Exhale, knees come down. Keep your plank. Hug the elbows in, tuck your chin to the floor, then your chest. Slide your knees back, get the hips on the ground. Point the toes back. Press the pinky toes down to the ground and then pull the big toes back. Take an inhale, lift the collar. Cobra. Take your hands up off the floor. Keep spinning like somebody has their hands on your outer hips and they're pressing your outer hips into the ground. Hands hovering. Draw the elbows into the sides of the body. Point the elbows back. Right, like they're connected to your big toes. Your big toes are getting longer and longer behind you, and your elbows are being towed along with the big toes. Good. Take one more breath. Exhale, rest your forehead on the floor. Pick the belly up off the ground, suction it. Lengthen through the back of the body. This time, hands remain on the floor. Inhale, slide your chest forward, Cobra. Exhale, forehead comes back down. Good. Maybe a little bit higher this time. Inhale, slide the chest forward. Exhale, forehead comes back to the floor. Tuck your toes. Inhale, slide the hips back. Feel the crease of your hips. Exhale, downward facing dog. Spread your hands. Hands are about shoulder distance wide. If there's injury or tightness in the shoulders, you can widen your hands out, maybe even as wide as your mat. Draw the attention once again into that flexion in your hips. Right? Come up onto the balls of the feet. Inhale. Feel as if there's balloons tied to your butt and it's floating it up. As you exhale, lift your bottom ribs into your back. Inhale, collarbone lengthens. Sit bones float up. Exhale, heels move down towards the floor. Excellent. Inhale, balls of your feet, look forward. As you exhale, step your feet to the top of your mat. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, full forward fold. Inhale, stand, push down into the floor. Stretch the arms as far from the feet as you can. Exhale, let's fold all the way back down to the floor. See if you can minimize the rocking of your hips. Keep them stable over your feet. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, plant your hands, step your feet back to plank. Outer thighs pointing down, inner thighs looping up, tail lengthening, collar forward. On the next exhale, knees come down, drag the hands back, chin comes to the floor, chest, then the hips. Point your toes back 2 times. Cobra, inhale, lift the collar forward. Exhale, forehead touches the floor. Find some engagement in your belly. One more time, inhale, Bhujangasana, Cobra. Forehead comes back down. Tuck your toes. Inhale, press back towards child's pose. Feel those thighs hooking back into your hips. Downward facing dog. All right, sun salutation A, the full sequence. Spreading the toes, firming the backs of the legs. The inhale floats the butt up like it's tied to balloons. Exhale, re-engage the front of your body. Inhale, collarbone pulls over the face. Exhale, heels intention is to drive down towards the floor. Keep lifting those sit bones. Don't press the knees back. Instead, try to press them forward. Good. Last time, Surya A. Inhale. Balls of the feet. Exhale, step the feet to the front of the mat. Right into your inhale. Half forward fold. Full forward fold. Stand up, arms reach. Inhale. Exhale, hands down the center. Arms stretch back out to the sides, overhead. Fold down to the floor. Half fold, moving with your breath. It's like the baseline of the practice. Hands on the ground, step it back to plank. Affirm the position, feel strong here. Knees come down, then chin, chest, knees to the hips. Point the toes back. One time, Cobra, inhale. Exhale, forehead comes back down to the floor. Tuck those toes. Inhale, moving with your thighs. Slide them into your hips. Downward facing dog. Keep that tilt of your butt. Lift your butt up. Don't press the knees back. Just lift, lift, lift your butt. And steady the tension around the breath. Good. Come up onto the balls of the feet. Lift that tilt of your pelvis. On the exhale, step to the top of your mat. Half fold, inhale. Full forward fold. Good. And then now from here, go ahead and take your right foot and just step it back a little bit. Right? About 1/3 of the way of your mat. Or maybe like 2/3. Grab your blocks, place them underneath your shoulders. For today, the higher the better, right? Your right foot's behind you, but it's definitely not a full lunge. Right? It's a very, very short lunge. You take the right heel and spin it down to the floor, setting up
for Parsvakonasana, right? Or pyramid pose. Spread your toes, push the inner edge and outer edge of your right foot to the floor, and then find that action of trying to scrape the gum off your heel. So find that internal rotation. And for most, you already begin to feel your left sit bone getting drawn back. All right. Find that tilt in your pelvis. See if you can sense those balloons lifting your butt up towards the ceiling. Right? If you're hyperextended or your knee goes back further back than normal, right, or than more than average, I want everybody to do this. Right? You're going to come up onto the ball of your left foot, lift the heel up off the ground, feel the firmness in the back of your left calf, your sit bone, all the way up to your sit bones, along the hamstring. Keep that action as you begin to put the heel back down into the floor. Right? Find that scraping of the gum, especially on your right heel, and continue to lift your chest forward. Good. And then begin to shift your butt back towards that right foot. It's like you're trying to lift your left foot off the floor. All right, now from here, take an inhale, find that half flat back. Then as you exhale, walk your hands forward or take those blocks forward. And then now let your head tuck down towards your left leg. Right, now we have spinal flexion in addition to the flexion in your hip. Right, and for most of you, you probably feel here that the lower back is rounding, like it's puffing, and that your hips are getting pulled towards your heels. Not necessarily right or wrong, right? But we just want to make that distinction. Then once again, lift your collar. Find that natural arch in your lower back. Walk the blocks back towards your feet. And then scoot them off to the side. Plant your hands, step your left foot back. Come into downward facing dog. Good. Let's go and step the right foot forward. Take those blocks. Move the left foot a little bit forward. So it's, again, that very short lunge stance. Left foot is pointed out at an angle, right, a very small degree. And then begin to turn the left thigh forward. It's like you're trying to point this left hip back down to the floor. But firm your left knee, right, so that it doesn't buckle into the inner edge of your left knee. Push down into your left foot, spread your toes, and then begin to shift your butt back towards the left foot. Okay. So let's go ahead and take that activation again in the back of the right leg. Lift the right heel off the floor, press down into the ball of your right foot. Calf, hamstrings, all of them in attention. Keep them that way. Now push the right heel back down into the ground. Feel as if the four corners are in contact to the floor and there's a sensation of the arch lifting off the mat. Good. Lift the chest. Take an inhale. Then as you exhale, let's walk the blocks forward a little bit. Find the balloons on your sit bones. Lengthen the collar. Yeah, now let's fold the spine as well. So flexion in the hip with the addition of flexion in the spine. And keep firming the backs of the legs, especially if you're super flexible. Protect your hamstrings. Protect the connection there to your sit bone. Spread the toes. Now walk the blocks back. Lift the chest back up. And then as you exhale, step your left foot forward and fold. Good. Let's bring it back on the left side. So step your right foot back a little bit. Setting up once again for that pyramid.
Go through your check marks, spread your toes, feel the gum, feel the balloons on your butt. Good. And then keep spreading your left toes. Move your blocks forward a little bit. You're going to spin up onto the ball of your right foot. Bend your left knee. Don't let the knee come forward of the toes. Keep it right over the left heel. That's going to ask that you draw your left thigh going back. Keep that. And then now from here, again, don't push the knee back, but lift your left butt cheek up towards the ceiling and come up into Virabhadrasana number 3, Warrior 3. Push your right foot straight back from the ball of your right big toe. And then suction your right thigh back up into your hip. Suck it up towards your head. Lift the collar. Firm the outer left hip. Lift the bottom ribs into your back. Keep turning the right toes, the right pinky toe down towards the floor. Similar pose we were doing lying down on our back. Same thing, in fact. Good. Take one more inhale. Then as you exhale, bow your head down towards the floor like a full forward fold. And then try to lift your right leg up a little bit higher. Standing splits. And then you might notice this right leg doesn't even really go up at all. That's okay. This happens to 99% of the people trying to do this pose. Good. Take an inhale, lift the chest once again. Exhale, step your right foot forward to meet the left. Bend the knees a little bit. Let your head hang. Let your arms dangle. Couple easy breaths. Good. We have the other side, of course. Lift the chest up, hands on the blocks. Short step back with the left foot. Set up first here in that triangle, or not triangle, excuse me, pyramid. Scrape the heels out to the side. Feel that maneuvering the thighs begins to reposition the pelvis. All right, by scraping that rear leg, you might dump into the inner left knee. So I want you to firm the outer edge of your left foot. Slide it back. Reinforce all sides of your left knee. Good. Feel that crease in your right hip. That's all that we're looking for. And then lift the left heel up off the floor. Point it straight back. Good. Bend the right knee a little bit. Move the blocks forward. And then when you're ready, right sit bone lifts up like you're flinging it over your head. Left leg is neutral. Don't lift it up because that's going to extend your hip. Keep it in line with your left hip. Keep sucking this left thigh up towards your hip as if this foot was still on the floor. Right? Keep lifting this top of your left thigh up. Pull it up into your hip. Lift your collar forward and keep spinning the heels. Scrape the gut, even in this leg that's lifted. Take an inhale. And then exhale, now let's fold. Now we have spinal flexion along with this very deep flexion in your right hip. Push down into your inner right foot. Firm the outer right hip to the midline. Good. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, step your left foot forward. Bend the knees a little bit. Let's fold. Take a couple breaths. Good. Push hands to shins. Inhale, half fold. Stay in this half fold. Hands on the hips. Exhale. Neutral spine. Inhale, stand all the way up. Whew. This is a big one. All right. Grab your straps. All right. So we've done it. We've done Supta Pada, right, where we have our leg up like this. We've done it like this. It's the same pose, Warrior 3. Now we're going to do it standing up. Okay, so grab your strap. Let's put the strap over the right shoulder. Find mountain or Tadasana Feet right underneath your hips. Spread your toes. Feet on the outside are neutral. The action on the inside of your body is you're trying to push, like you're pulling taffy apart with your feet. Anchor down into the inner right foot. And then now everybody hug your right knee into your chest. Just like when you were lying down, the right side of your hip is lifted, maybe a little bit rounded on the right side. And then check here that your left thigh hasn't protruded forward. Neutralize this left hip. Okay, now let's take that strap, step it into your right foot, step it into the strap around the ball of the foot. Hold both ends with your right hand. Place your left hand in the lower part of your back. You want to make sure that you're not rounding your back. Stand up tall, natural arch in your right side, or excuse me, on the lower side of your back. And begin to straighten your right leg. Again, if you pull it so high, your back is going to start to round. It's not going to feel like a fun place to be. Just lower that leg, even if it means it's just barely off the floor. Scrape the gum, pull the tailbone down to the heel. Good. Now everybody, let go of that strap, reach arms up overhead, take an inhale. And then now from here, you're going to slowly bring your right leg down. Don't touch the floor, just hover off the ground. And then from here, now you're going to turn and the flexion is going to happen in the left leg. Use those blocks. Back to that warrior three. Right leg is in neutral. Left leg now is flexed. Cool. Take an inhale. Exhale, both feet on the floor and fold. Let that sink in for a moment. Easy breath. Good. Position those blocks. You know we'll need it. All right. On the second side. Inhale, half fold. Exhale, hands on the hips. Bring that strap up with you. Inhale, stand all the way up. Good. Set up on the left side or the right leg on the floor. We'll have the strap over the left shoulder. Tadasana, spread your toes. Outer edges of your feet parallel. And then accentuate that with that feeling of trying to scrape your feet apart left and right. Immediately feel this kind of hugging of the central line of your body. And when you're ready, bring the left knee in towards your chest. Investigate here. Did your right hip get thrusted forward? If you're really trying to lift your leg, did you start to turtle your back? Right? What adjustments can we do to be very clear that we're just flexing our left hip? Nothing else has changed. Take your strap, step it into your foot into the strap. Both hands or both straps in the left hand, right hand on the flat of your back, or this natural curve of your lower right back. And begin to strain your left leg out in front. Keep dropping your left thigh towards your inner right foot. Stand tall, push firmly into your right inner foot. Lengthen the tailbone, collar goes up. Remember, if you pull it too much, you're going to get yanked in the spine. Again, if it needs to be lower, just lower the leg, no problem. Clear flexion in your hip exclusively in the left leg. Neutral right thigh. Let go of the strap, arms reaching. Now your left leg is going to come down to neutral. Keep it like this. Now the right hip is going to come into flexion. Very clearly, the hip on the right side is flexed. The left side is neutral. If we flipped ourselves onto our left foot, we'd be doing the same thing as we were doing a couple moments ago. Good, take a breath. Step the feet down. Let the head hang. Generous bend in your knees. Good. Move your blocks off to the sides. Let's go ahead and get a vinyasa and to open up the front of the body. Inhale, half fold. Take the hands down, step it back to plank. Knees come down, chin, chest, hips. Point the toes straight back. Press the pinky toes down into the floor. Inhale, Cobra. Exhale, forehead comes back down. Tuck your toes. Rock the thighs back. Downward facing dog. Easy breath. Good. I'll go ahead and set the knees down onto the floor. Point your toes straight back. Right, come into child's pose. Rest the forehead on the ground. You also have a block. You can rest your head on the block. And then set your arms back by your side. Right, reaching back towards your feet. Nice deep breaths. Feel the space in your lower back as the breath spirals around in all directions. Almost like a wave washing up and down, starting right from the hips, gliding across the mid, upper, and across the back of your head. Wonderful. Bring your hands back by your face. Press up onto your hands. Now let's go ahead and come up to a standing position. Bring your two blocks with you. And then stand, how is this? Perpendicular or lengthwise on your mat. And then take your feet out wide. And a general guideline would be to have your feet about as wide as your hands, right? Your wingspan. We're setting ourselves up for Prasarita, Tadasana. Right? So nice wide straddle. And then from here, your feet are parallel, the outer edges. Right? Spread your toes. And then bring your hands onto your hips. Take an inhale. Slide your butt back. Lift your collar up. Then as you exhale, hinge at your hip. See if you can do it nice and slowly, preventing your butt from just sliding back. Keep your butt in line with your feet. Slowly, slowly. Take your time. Pause in the center. Inhale. Lift your collar a little bit more. And then hinge, hinge, hinge a little bit more. Remember, trying to slide your butt up towards the ceiling. Lengthen. And then go ahead and put your hands down on the blocks. You can adjust the blocks. Remember, there's three kind of obvious settings. Having the hands on the blocks, spread your toes, flow your sit bones up. And then for those who are super bendy, especially in your back, engage your hamstrings. Remember that feeling of when we were on the balls of our feet, lifted our heels up. Earlier when we were setting up that pyramid. Engage your hamstring and engage your calves. Good, take one more inhale, lengthen the collar. Then as you exhale, walk your blocks back, or if you have your hands all the way onto the floor, just your hands back. Otherwise, you have those blocks. See if you can set them up right in line with your feet. Hug your elbows in. Lift the collar, lift the shoulder blades away from the ears, and then now, fold the rest of your spine. Head moves down towards the floor. Keep spreading your toes. Some may or may not get the head to the floor. Right? Don't feel like that's the pose for you today. Just deep flexion in the hip. and also now the spine. Good. And then now walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Use those blocks. And then from here, you're going to come up onto the balls of your feet and then turn your heels in, right? So now you're externally rotating your toes. Or excuse me, externally rotating your hips, right? And it presents itself with the toes turning out. Now from here, take an inhale, lift your collar up. Then as you exhale, bow the head back down towards the floor. Very different engagement. Right? Feel now the different segments of the hamstrings getting lengthened. Keep pushing down into the inner edges of your feet. Maintain that subtle action of trying to scrape the gum off your heel. You might notice here too is a little bit more challenging to get a deeper flexion in the hip. Because of counter nutation, because of the positioning of your legs. All right, good. And then come back up, get your hands supporting your upper body, come up onto the balls of the feet, and then now come back to neutral for a second. Good. And then from here, come back again, once again on the balls of the feet, and then try to, onto the heels, and then point your toes inwards. All right? Not going to get as much movement in that direction, but the toes now at some point will cross each other, right? So that they're coming in an X. Hands on the blocks, lift the collar. Now it's probably a little bit more noticeable that those balloons on your butt's a little more obvious, right? Firm the backs of your legs. On the exhale, fold. Accessing a little bit more the outer edges of your hamstrings. Keep pressing the knees forward, spreading your toes. Nice deep breaths. Inflate that balloon attached to your butt. As you exhale, feel that natural curling of the tailbone. Good. Now put your hands back up onto those blocks. Lift your collar. And then neutralize the stance in the feet, both feet parallel facing forward. Once again, just a couple breaths here. Spread through your toes. Inhale, lift the collar. Exhale, hands on the hips. See if you can prevent your butt from sliding back. Inhale, stand all the way up. Woo, holy moly. All right, now heel toe your feet all the way back to the center. There we are. And then now let's go and move the blocks off to the side and step to the top of the mat. We'll take one more sun salutation and then bring ourselves back down to the floor. Here, when you're ready, inhale, arms stretch up overhead. Exhale, fold down to the ground. Inhale, half forward fold. Take your time, hands down, step back to plank. Inhale in that plank. Exhale, make your way down, knees down, chin, collar, hips, toes point back. Inhale, Cobra. Exhale, forehead comes down. Tuck those toes, slide the hips back. Exhale, last time through downward facing. All right, a couple breaths here. Just notice now. Maybe the down dog's a little bit more at ease. Legs warmed up, hips certainly warmed up. Breath a little bit clearer. Very good. And then now set your knees down onto the floor. And then take your legs out in front of you. All right, we'll take a series of forward folds here sitting down. And then we'll begin to wrap it up with a more restorative or passive hip opener or back bend.
and then a twist, of course. Right? Set up for Janu Shirshasana. You're going to take your right leg, hug that knee in, and then externally rotate right foot on the bottom of your foot on the inside of your left thigh. Flex your right ankle, or don't let it sickle onto the floor. Come onto your fingertips, spread your left toes, turn your chest towards your left foot. So there's a little bit of a twist happening in your upper body. Right? Push the left heel, just firm the back of your left leg. This left hip, for most of us, is already in a flexion, right? So actually, I encourage you to have your blocks. So for a lot of us, this is enough. And even then, for some of us, you need to lift your butt up a little bit higher, right? So maybe you got to sit on a pillow or a blanket, right? And if you're comfortable here, take an inhale, lift your chest up a little bit more. Then as you exhale, lift your collar and try to hook it over your left foot. Right? And then continue down that road. Inhale, lift the collar. Fold a little bit more. Remember that feeling of the lower back just collapsing. I want you to keep the front of your body open, especially on the inhale. Then fold a little bit more. Right? It's really easy to just kind of collapse like this. Right? And in some instances, yeah, it feels good, right? But we want to be very clear here in the flexion in the hip and to support what's happening in the spine. Just a couple more breaths. We'll get to the spine in a few moments. Full inhale, front body opens. Exhale, fold a little bit more. Right? And then wherever you are, yeah, now let's get the spine involved, right? Into that fold. Lift the collar. And then fold the lower back. Lift the collar. Fold now the middle of the back. Lift the collar. Fold the upper back. Lift the collar. Let the head bow down. Perfect. On the next inhale, walk back up to a seat. Bring that leg in. And then switch sides. So right leg is straight. Left knee comes out to the side. Find that rotation. And if you're kind of already slouched over like this and your leg is just not going any lower than this, take a pillow or a blanket or something and lift your butt up. And then now from here, right, and again, use those blocks. Turn your chest towards your right toes, spread your right toes, flex your left ankle. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Firm the back of your right leg. Then exhale, hinge at your right hip. Not hinge on your spine, hinge in the hip. Lift the collar. Hinge at your right hip. It's like you're trying to slide your right butt cheek back. Inhale. Hinge at the hip. Remember, it's a give and take, like the ebb and flow of the waves or the rise and fall of the sun and moon, right? Your breath, as you inhale, opens the front of your body. Then as you exhale, right, opens the back of the body. And then now let's play with that, adding the spine, right? The flexion in the spine. Lift the collar, inhale. Feel now your lower back coming into flexion. Inhale, lift the collar. Now the middle of your back flexing. Inhale, full all the way to your collar. Upper back now coming into flexion. Collar, even the front still opens in this fold. And then now the neck, right? The cervical spine comes into the fold. Keep sliding your right butt cheek back, trying to turn your hips to face that right foot.
Good. On the following inhale, sit yourself back up. Take both legs out in front. Bring your blocks beside you. Go ahead and lie down on your back. Then from here, just to kind of counter, the folds tend to, of course, close off the front of your hips, right? So we're just going to go ahead and take a back bend. Just here's the setup of it. Take your hands down by your sides. You're going to slide your hands, 4 fingers underneath your mat, and then grip the top with your thumb. Slide your hands as far down as you can and hold onto your mat, and then try to pull your hands, your shoulder blades down. You're beginning to feel your chest lifting up. Let that happen, and then tuck your arms, your shoulder blades underneath you. Your lower back is going to arch a lot, right? Feet are no wider than your hips. Spread your toes. And then from here, just lift your butt up towards the ceiling. Good. And then put your butt back down to the ground. Try that one more time. Just lifting the butt up towards the sky. Keep pulling on the mat, and then slowly lower back down. All right, so in this instance, your spine is moving as one unit. Okay, let's try it a little bit different. You're gonna take an inhale here, that natural arching in your back. Then as you exhale, tuck your tailbone, and slowly lifting from the tailbone, your lower back comes off the floor, then your mid back articulates, and then the upper back joins the party. Right? One vertebrae at a time. Good. Likewise, on its way down, one vertebrae at a time. Upper back, mid back, low back, tail remains curled, hips come to the floor, and then we finally release the tailbone. Right? Try that one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Engage the belly, lift the tail, sacrum rolls, low back, mid back, rippling to the upper back. Good. Let's stay up this time. Squeeze the inner thighs in towards each other. Feel again that scraping of the gum. Pull the shoulder blades together. Walk your hands even just a centimeter down that sides of your mat and keep pulling, pushing the elbows down. Good. Couple more breaths. Allow the breath, soften your butt. It's almost like it's jello. Right? You don't have to grip the butt. Great. And then release your hands. Let the hips come down. Shoulder blades move out of the way. Then hands on the belly, a couple easy breaths. Good. Now widen your feet. Separate them about as wide as your mat. Arms cactus out to the sides. And then swivel your knees over to the right. You're going to lift your butt a little bit and scoot it over to the left. And just a nice, easy, simple twist here. Push down into your right arm a little bit and then scoot your right shoulder blade outwards. And then especially, but even though for most, right, I want you to engage your belly just a little bit. Try to point your tailbone down towards your feet, just a little bit. Not so much that it hinders your breath. Nice, easy, full breath. Feel that natural opening of the front. And that invitation to open the back as you exhale. Right? Feel that tipping of the pelvis, just like when we were laying flat on the floor. Good. Setting yourself up with an inhale. We exhale and swivel the hips back down to the floor. Good. Feet again, wide. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bump your butt a little bit to the right. Turn your knees to the left. Push down into your left arm and then scoot your left shoulder blade outward a little bit. And then feel that natural tipping of your pelvis, right? As you inhale, kind of tips towards your left knee. Then as you exhale, maybe at least in these very opening or first few breaths, give it a little bit of a tuck. Protect the low back. And then just these last 3 breaths. Feel that natural swaying, that rocking of your pelvis. Awesome. Take an inhale. Exhale, swivel your hips back down to the floor. And then from here, arms down by your sides, palms up. Straighten your right leg on the floor. Let that come to rest. Straighten your left leg. Allow it to fall open. Take one more full breath. Inhale through your nose. Close your eyes. Open your mouth. Sigh it out. Just for a few more moments, notice this natural rocking of your pelvis. Like a boat on the waves, and the waves are your breath, kind of rocking with the movement of the breath. Begin to notice sound. Slowly deepen your breath. It's going to take the hands, the palms, one over the other, right over your heart. Take a couple easy breaths. Feel the warmth of your hand, the temperature of your hands on your chest. Now press your palms together, thumb knuckles to the center of your eyebrows. Press and sense this experience of focus, the sensation of the thumbs touching the brow. Good. On your next exhale, release your arms back down by your sides. Inhale, slowly just open the eyes. Keep that softness in the eyes. Maintain connection to the center of the brow. And transition out of the meditation. Eyes blink, pupils dilate, breath gets deeper. Now, when you're ready, just slowly roll yourself off the floor.
Movement principle number 3. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. Understanding. Right? It's just such a simple thing, just moving around your hips. The benefits are infinite. It's pretty fun. A couple of things, if you're still around. There's a mid-semester survey. Kind of fill it out, please. It's just extra credit. And it's set to be anonymous, so don't feel like you need to hold back because I'm going to reprimand you for what you're saying. Either way, you can trust me, I wouldn't do that anyways. But just, for your comfort, it's anonymous, so you could write whatever you want there. If anything, any and all information is valuable to me, right? So It'll just help me get better in understanding what's going on with you, and so that we can make adjustments moving forward if we need to. And with that being said, next week we're going to dive into movement principle number 4. And just like principle 2, that it has subdivisions A, B, and C. And the focus will be on the shoulders. Yeah.
Shoulders.
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 All right. I'm going to stop recording, but I'm going to stick around. If you have questions,